So yesterday we looked at solving systems using graphing method. Today we're going to be looking at it using substitution. So this is section 7.2. Your notes today will represent your page number 3. So if you don't have your note sheet, please pause and make sure you grab it. Your standard today is to solve a system with two linear equations and two variables algebraically. So we will not be using the graphs whatsoever today. All right, so quick review. Here's some questions. Number 1, solve the equation for x. Please be mindful that it says x, and the equation is 2y plus x equals 12. So it needs to be x by itself. How does the graph look when there is no solution? This is one of our 3 types we talked about yesterday. And how about what does it look like if there are infinitely many solutions? All right, so pause the video and think about 1, 2, and 3. All right, so for the first one, to solve for x, what you need to do is subtract 2y from both sides, and you're going to end up getting x equals negative 2y plus 12. Now, if you have 12 minus 2y equals x or some variation of that, good job. And when there's no solution or infinitely many solutions, well, no solution means that the lines never intersect or they're parallel. An infinitely many solution means they are the exact same line. All right, so no solution, parallel lines, infinitely many, two lines are the same exact one. So solving with substitution. Now there are a few steps to solving it. Your first step, you need to pick an equation. So usually I like to pick an equation where there is no coefficient other than 1 in front of a variable. So what I mean by that is you want to pick a variable where there's no number in front of it. And then you're going to solve for that variable. Now it doesn't always necessarily need to be y, it can be x. Step 2, you're going to substitute the first equation into the second equation. It's very important that you choose the other equation. Otherwise, you're just going to be in a circular loop. You're going to solve for your first variable. Once you've done the substitution, everything will actually be in one variable, so it's going to be a multi-step equation. Then you're going to, once you know what one variable is, you're going to substitute it and solve it for the second one. It doesn't matter which of the two equations you use. And yes, lastly, you need to check your solution. You could be coming up with a totally bogus answer and not even know it. So, here's our first example. Solve the linear system. Negative x plus y equals 4 and negative 8x plus 2y equals 2. So what you're going to notice in the top right-hand corner is I'm going to have the steps that we just talked about written in different colors. So each step is going to be a different color. So first, I'm going to pick an equation. Now, if I look at my two equations, I'll notice that my top one here, y, does not have a coefficient other than 1 in front of it. So I'm going to choose the top one. Now, I'm going to take the equation, and I'm going to solve for x. So solve for y. So I'm going to take the top equation, solve for y. How I'm going to do that is I'm going to add x to both sides. And when I do that, I'm going to get y equals x plus 4. All right, so I've done step 1. I've picked an equation and I've solved for one variable. Step 2, I need to substitute. So I'm going to take this lovely equation here and plug it in to y, because y equals x plus 4. What that's going to end up looking like is, well, I'm going to now solve. So with my substitution, I'm going to solve this multi-step equation. Now, you still need to remember all the other algebra things that I've taught you. Your first step is to distribute that 2 onto each piece. The second step is to combine like terms. Now I don't need to get all the variables on one side because they already are. So I'm going to add or subtract. In this case, I'm going to subtract. And lastly, I'm going to divide. So I got my solution of x equals 1. My fourth step is to substitute x equals 1 into either of the top two equations. It doesn't matter which one I choose. In this case, I'm going to use the top one. So I have the top equation. I know that x equals 1, and I'm going to finish it out by adding 1 to each side because it's a negative 1 to get y equals 5. So my solution is going to be 1, 5. My last step is always to check it. So I'm going to check 1, 5. First step, write the first equation. And I'm going to input both x and y into it. And what do you know? I get 4 equals 4. That's spectacular. Next, I'm going to take the second equation. I'm going to implement 1 in for x and 5 in for y. Simplify, and what do you know? I get the same thing. Therefore, I know that both 1 and 5 are correct in this linear system. Now, we're going to look at the next two on there. So you're going to have 2 and 3. What's nice about 2 and 3 is there's a really easy equation that you can pick. So go ahead, take the next 5 minutes and either choose 2 or 3 to complete on your own. You can work with another person or you can work independently. Go ahead and take the next 5 minutes. Alright, so real quick, check your answer. If you did number 2 and you got 1, -2, kudos to you. If you did 3 and got 1, 1/2 or 1, 0.5, kudos to you. Now we talked about earlier and yesterday about no solution or infinitely many solutions. So here's number 4 and 5. Go ahead and figure out which one is infinitely many solutions or the same line and which one is no solutions. Go ahead and try. Take the next 3 minutes. Ready? Go. Alright, if you figured out that the first equation is infinite and the second one is no solutions, kudos to you. If you didn't quite understand what was going on with problems 4 and 5, no worries, we will be working with these tomorrow. So just to wrap it up, the steps again are to pick an equation, solve for a variable. Usually I like to pick one with a coefficient of 1 in front of it. Substitute it into the other equation. Solve for that variable. Lastly, take that variable and the value and plug it into either of the original two equations. And your last check is always to solve. No solution. X and y cancels and two sides are completely different. So as I said before, if you get a number that equals a number that's not itself, this is a no solution. In infinitely many solutions, x and y both cancel, but the sides are still equal. So for instance, 2 equals 2 would be an infinitely many solution. If we still have any questions, you know where you can reach me on my phone at 504-408-2154 or my email. But please, attempt the classwork. Now one note with the classwork, it says solve by elimination on top, which is my mistake. Oh hey, Miss Ledford made a mistake. This is going to be your page 4 in your binders. So it should say 7.2 solve by elimination, but you are going to solve them all by substitution. This is due first thing tomorrow morning. If you have any questions, you know where I can reach me. Good luck!